as it says, Hadau dichtiv be'einenu ki lakach oto Elokim, because God took him, the Zohar says, so he was taken off from the earth. Vehu hana'al, and he is the one called Na'al. Okay, one of the names of Metatron, later we'll see the book of Hanoch gives Metatron 70 names, give Enoch and Metatron 70 names. One of them is Na'al, which means the youth. He's called the youth. Why is he called the youth? Because he came to heaven and started to be among all these angels who lived for thousands of years. And he's this young guy. He was 365, but that's young compared to all the angels. So the angels called him the young guy that just joined us up here in the heavens. So he was called the Na'al. And we'll see where the Talmud also refers to him as a Na'al. We'll get to that in a moment. The Zohar goes on to say, Kidichtiv, and this is the secret of the verse, Chanoch le'na'ar al pi darko. You remember King Solomon said in Mishlei, very famous verse in Proverbs, Chanoch le'na'ar al pi darko, that you should educate every child according to his way. Chanoch literally means to educate, right? Chanoch means education, chinuch. So Chanoch is the educator. Chanoch this person Chanoch was the first teacher. The book of Jubilees, remember, tells us that Enoch was the first teacher. The angels taught him, those fallen angels that came down, those watchers, taught him the secrets of astronomy and writing and gave him prophecy and showed him the whole history of the world. And so he was like the first scientist, mathematician, researcher, scholar, and the first educator, the first teacher. That's why his name was Chanoch, which literally means the educator. He was the original teacher. And so the Zohar says that the secret of the verse in King Solomon, Chanoch nar al pi darko, that you should educate. The simple meaning is educate each child according to his way, right? Every child is unique. Every child has a unique learning profile. You have to teach them in their unique way. So, today in the world of education, speaking as a teacher, that's the way it is. Every child has some kind of thing. You need to custom tailor the educational program for everyone. Everybody's got their IEP or whatever. So there's no one-size-fits-all model like it used to be in the past, like when we all just used to sit in rows and everybody got the exact same, the teacher just talked to everybody the same way. It was the same test. There was no differentiation of instruction whatsoever. So that's not how education works anymore, right? Teachers are now required to basically custom tailor a unique educational experience for everybody, and even change assessments depending on. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So it allows. What's that?
How is it possible that teaching your 25 kids? How are you going to be doing? How do you have the time? What are you going to be?
Ask me how many hours I slept this week. Not much. I taught like 6 classes in a row today, and then I'm driving home and I'm like, I have no energy. I'm like, I'm done. And I'm like, no, I got to do one more. I got to do one more class tonight. So, yeah. Yes, it's hard. It's very hard. So, you have to custom tailor the education. King Solomon said that 3,000 years ago. Chanoch le'nar al pi darko, educate every youth according to his way. But the Zohar says, no, there's a secret meaning to this verse. It means Chanoch, like literally the person Chanoch, became the Na'al, became that angel Metatron, that young angel. That's what the secret meaning of the verse in Mishlei means, Chanoch le'nar al pi darko. That's what the Zohar says. So Chanoch became that Na'al. The Talmud in Masechet Yevamot says another pasuk that you all know. You read it pretty probably every day. When you say Birkat HaMazon, what do you say at the end of Birkat HaMazon? Na ra'iti, right? So Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmania bar Rabbi Yonatan. Pasuk zeh, this verse that you say at the end of Birkat HaMazon, Na ra'iti, it's in Tehillim. Na ra'iti, I was young, gam zakanti, and I became old, right? And then I have not seen a righteous person being forsaken by God. We all know that verse in Tehillim chapter 37. So the Talmud says, Pasuk zeh, who is this referring to? This is the Sar HaOlam. That same Sar HaOlam that we said that the Arizal said is Metatron, right? Why? How do you know? Because it says Na ra'iti, it was in Tehillim. Tehillim was written by King David. But could David have said such a thing? It says Na ra'iti gam zakanti, I was young and I became old. How could you say that the Talmud is asking, how could you say that King David wrote this? King David couldn't have said this. Why could King David not have said this?
That's the way before.
Well, he wrote this verse, that I was young and I became old and I never saw anybody forsaken. Now, the Talmud's asking, why could not be that King David said this? Very simply, because how old was King David when he died?
70.
He was only 70. So the Talmud says what? King David was old? That's not old. Like when you say na raiti gam zakanti, like you expect somebody who was really old. King David died relatively young, like he was only 70. So couldn't have been King David. So who was it? You have to say that it's the Sara Olam. It's got to be Metatron, because he's the only one that was young. He was a human young man and became extremely old. Right, lived for thousands of years, basically became immortal. So the Talmud is saying in Masechet Yevamot that Na Reiti Gam Zakanti is referring to Metatron. Who is the Na? That's what Nar means. Remember, Nar is this code word for the angel Metatron. Okay, excellent. And interestingly, as in terms of being Chanoch, the other place where the Talmud mentions Metatron, again, it's only in 3-4 places. And we're going to get to the main one. The main place that discusses Metatron is the story of Arba'a Shenichnesu bePardes. Remember the 4 people that went.
Okay, so I'm going to stop here because guy is so weird. So is from the beginning when they say all this story about the first it was the angel and then it turned to be a human being and then human being turned it to be angel and then return it back to turn from angel to human being, whatever. I'm going to stop on this. Does not make sense because does not have anything to relate with what we believe. First, he keep talking about echnon and the meaning of the word and talking about he cannot be sleeping for 2 weeks. That's him. He talking about himself. That he been do preaching or give a lecture or give a course teaching people about this book. So that's what he say. So what he doing now? This word he said is against each other. This word is against each other, which is he talking about the angel he came by the Torah. Okay, you want me to believe in Torah or you want me to believe in the book of Enoch? And who is Enoch? You're going to tell me Enoch, that says the angel. And now you're going to say Enoch is the education. You tell me that Enoch is meaning education, educated. Which word I can believe you for it? Meaning any angel is educated? Do you know the angel of definition of angel is just to obey God, not to teaching, to deliver it, not to explain, to deliver the message only. That's the angel. When he bring the book on the earth, he deliver it. It's not allowed for him to explain anything, to say the word like God gave it to him and deliver it. Now he decided to make the angel as a teacher, to show to the people he's an angel. He's sitting on the chair. He's an angel. He tried to teach them. He tried to preach to them. He's an angel. That's a big hypocrite of yourself. That's a big hypocrite of yourself. Now, when you explain anything, you have to make sense. And if you tell a story, give the story step by step to understanding. And now he's jumping from Enoch angel to the Rabbi Samuel Bar Nashomon, whatever he said. Okay, and Rabbi is whatever he say, Rabbi Yanaton. So he gave him another name. And then he say, might be King David. So all his word is maybe. There is no surely. There is no sure here. So how I can believe in a book say maybe? How I believe in something say maybe? So stop being lie to yourself and lie on God. Lie to God and teach people words is not from God and say this is came from God. We have that happen in the Quran Kareem. Allah said that in the Quran Kareem. And it's said in the Bible too. You cannot write it down by your hand words and say this is came from Allah, came from God. There is no acceptable for this word because this is fake. I cannot write in word behalf of my father or your father. I cannot write in word behalf of your mother and my mother. They would be angry because it might be I say something against them, right? So you cannot write in any word behalf of someone and say this is from that person. It's not true and it's not right and it's not acceptable. Does not make sense. All these things does not make sense. And this is, by the way, the first time for me to read Torah translated by English. And I believe this is not Torah at all, because they're written by the Hebrew is not Torah. And they say the book of Enoch. Metatron and the book of Enoch. Let's see what the story of Metatron and the book of Enoch tell us about it. And believe me, today is the day of November 8th. And the view of this video is 8K 3 weeks ago. So it's not too far. I'm speaking on the day of November 8th 2023. يا جماعة الكلام ده غريب جدا. الراجل ده عمال يجيبنا من تحت لفوق ومن فوق لتحت، وبيتكلم على ميتاترون وبيقول عليه الكتاب اللي بتاع الملاك، كتاب الملاك، وبيعتبر ان هو عشان ما دام كاتبه مكتوب بالعبري يبقى ده التوراة بتاعتهم. الكلام ده مش صحيح، لان التوراة مش كل حاجة بتكتب باللغة العربية يبقى اسمها قرآن، ومش كل حاجة تكتب باللغة العبرية يبقى اسمها توراة. تمام؟ فاحنا بنتكلم على واحد دلوقتي يعني منافق بيناقض نفسه. اولا قاعد ينافق في الناس ويقول لهم ان ايه بقاله اسبوع كامل ما نامش عدد ساعات كتيره في الاسبوع. فراجل منافق وبيقول ان هو عمال بقى ايه بيشرح للناس وبيعلم الناس وان هو راجل ايه زي الملاك. طب هو جاب الكلام ده بناء على ان هو بدأ بحكى انه ايه انوخ دوت معناها المعلم او التعليم. طب هو ملك ولا تعليم؟ يعني هو ملاك ولا معلم؟ اللي احنا نعرفه ان الملك ده عبارة عن موصل او مخلوق ربنا خلقه ان هو يسبح له ويوصل الشيء للشيء ويحمل الاشياء من مكان لمكان بامر رب العالمين. مش مسموح له ان هو يزود ولا يشرح ولا يفسر. يعني حتى الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم والرسل جميعا لما كان الملك ينزل عليهم بالوحي وينزل لهم الكتاب المقدس من رب العالمين، ما كانش المفروض ان هو يشرح لهم حاجه. فلو افترضنا ان هو بيتكلم على ان هو في ملك واحد، وان احنا نعرفه ان هو سيدنا جبريل اللي هو سيدنا جبريل اللي هو نازل بالقرآن الكريم على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ولو افترضنا ان هو بيتكلم عليه، طب هو ما قابلش ليه جبريل؟ فيما معنى ان بيقولوا على سيدنا جبريل ملك الشيء اللي هو الشر، يعني ملك الشر. وده ترجمتهم في العبرية، بس انا مش هنتطرف فيه لان هو ما قالهاش هنا، بس انا بجيبها من قبيل المعلومة يعني. فبالنسبة بردك في المسيحية النبي بردك لما جاله سيدنا عيسى، لما جاء الإنجيل ونزل عليه، وبردك نفس الحكاية ما كانش اسمه ملك الميتاترون ولا ملك المعلم ولا كده. تمام؟ فما فيش الكلام ده. يعني هو عمال يحكي وبيفسر حاجات وبيوضح حاجات غير مقبولة ومن عنده ومش من عند ربنا. ومستحيل يا جماعة يكون كلام ربنا بالمنظر ده. كلام ربنا بالمنظر ده كلام بني آدم. ده لو أنا قاعد في موضوع تعبير إنشائي في المدرسة وبصحح للطلبة، هقول للطالب أنت مين اللي كتب لك الكلام ده؟ ده نقش فراخ، مش تعبير، مش موضوع تعبير من طالب محترم. فلو انت عايزنا نؤمن بالكلام ده يا صهيوني، انت يا تابع للنسيخ الدجال. ويا جماعة رجاء بطلوا تقولوا المسيح عمره ما كان دجال. يعني لازم نفهم الكلمة دي. ممنوع تقول مسيح الدجال، لان ده المسيح عمره ما كان دجال. المسيح عمره ما كان دجال. عشان كده بوضح معاكم، بقول لكم اسمه النسيخ. النسيخ يعني جاية من كلمة نسخ، منسوخ من الدجل، عبارة عن دجال نصاب منافق كذاب محاور بيدعي الكذب وبيدعي الافتراء على الأديان كلها، وبيقول إن الكتاب اللي المفروض نؤمن بيه دلوقتي كتاب الصهيونية، وإن ربنا اداهم أرض لازم يرجعوا لها. طب يعني العقل ده من عدل ربنا ينفع إن ربنا يدي أرض لناس معينة وبقية الخلق ما يلهمش أرض؟ يعني إزاي يعني؟ ليه ما قالش إن الأرض بتاعت أمريكا دي مش بتاعت الهند والأمريكان دول هم اللي ياخدوها؟ نزل في التوراة ولا الإنجيل بتاعهم؟ ما نزلش حاجة زي كده. طيب في بنفس القصة هو ربنا سبحانه وتعالى قرر إن الصين دي، أرض الصين دي تبقى للصينيين؟ نزل في التوراة أو الإنجيل أو القرآن؟ عمره ما نزل حاجة زي كده. نزل في أرض مصر، أرض سوريا، ما فيش الكلام ده، ولا روسيا ولا كلام. ربنا ادانا الأرض كلها لينا نعيش عليها، يعني مش محددة لحد. والعبادات، أماكن العبادات للناس اللي بتحافظ على أماكن العبادات، مش الناس اللي بتخش تدنس في أماكن العبادات. So please understand. يا جماعة آسف، افهموا الوضع كويس جدا. فعلا أنا بأكد تاني النسيخ الدجال موجود، اللي هو بنقول عليه بالإنجليزية Antichrist، وإن هو موجود، ودول أتباعه بيحاولوا ينشروا الكذبة بتاعته. فيا رجاء المؤمن بربنا كويس يؤمن بعقله، وقلبه موجود مع عقله، وعقله موجود في قلبك، يعني عقلك وقلبك موجودين مع بعض. فربنا يثبت إيمانكم سواء كنتم مسلمين مسيحيين أو يهود، لأن الأيام دي أيام صعبة جدا، أيام ظهور النسيخ الدجال، ظهر موجود، وإن هو ربنا اداله. وبأكد تاني، فهنشوف نكمل الفيديو ونتابع ونشوف الراجل ده عايز يقول إيه وبيقولوا إيه في الكتاب بتاعهم، عشان ربنا يحفظنا منهم ويقدرنا إن إحنا نخرج من الأيام الفتن الرهيبة دي فتن رهيبة يعني. ربنا يرحمنا جميعا. So please understanding something very important. This is a Zionist person, which is the Zionist group, and he just fakely scammer said that he's came from the Torah from Jew, and is not acceptable because he wrote him by Hebrew, that meaning he is from Torah. No, if he's written by English, that meaning from America or British. No, he can write in anything by any language. So the same thing is we cannot believe in that. That is Torah because it's written by Hebrew. Okay, that is something you have to believe in it. Don't forget about it. Okay. Now we're going to continue to watch the video. Please use your brain and try to understanding. Protect yourself and your generation, your children, from the bad group available with the Antichrist available in the life now. The Antichrist available in the life. So please be careful. And remember that God, His justice. He will never decided to give China land for the Chinese only. Never decided to give land to certain group. Never decided to give everybody group or any group land and tell them don't go from this land anywhere. No, freedom to traveling anywhere, freedom to immigrate to anywhere you want. That's what you have to believe. Okay? And the roles of any country is just organizing between the community of this country. So if people came to United States, they're not going to say, oh, because God said in the Bible or the Torah or the Holy Quran Kareem that I'm supposed to be in American land. No, there is no anything showing up in the Bible saying American has to be on American land, which we know the story of the Spanish people when they discovered the land, and then after that the American European people came from all over the world to discover the land. That's not available in the Bible even, right? So remember that. So the Zionist is not going to tell us the Torah said, God said this land for you. No, I'm going to explain to you in the end of the video what is the meaning of the Holy Land. Okay, that will have a different video. Believe me, God will never be justice if He say that. That was just in certain time and is done. in certain time with certain bad people does not believe in God at all and never can be forever. So let's continue and listening to that. I'm sorry for the
that went up to heaven, and Elisha ben Avuya saw Metatron, and then he became a heretic. Remember that story? One of the 4 great rabbis that went up to heaven, and then he became a heretic because he saw Metatron. But the Talmud doesn't say what happened. Like, why did he become a heretic after that? It's not clear. So we're going to have to explore that. But one of the places where he's mentioned very briefly in Avodah Zarah, it actually says, that it's a long discussion over there, but it says Metatron he teaches the school children, Tinakot shel Beit Rabban. So there's this association of Metatron being Chanoch, being the educator, being the Sar Shel Olam, being the Na'ar, this relatively youthful man who became an angel. Okay, that's that. Now the Zohar continues, the same Zohar continues, that all the secrets of the world were given to Chanoch, and then he wrote some of them down, Umindait Masar Sifra, and then it came down into his book, and the Ikrei Sifra de Chanoch, and that's the book called the Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch is full of all these secrets that he was given. So there's a Book of Enoch. Now the question is, do we have this book? Today we have 3 different books of Enoch, 3 different ones. The problem is that we don't have the original of any of them. What's called the first book of Enoch is the Ethiopic book of Enoch, because it's only preserved in the Ethiopian Gez language and in Greek translations, so we don't have the original Hebrew. We have fragments of it found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and most of those fragments themselves are Aramaic translations. So not...
Please comment about this. He approved that they don't have the original Torah. Put million line under this. He decided, he say they don't have the original Torah, meaning they have fake things on them hand. How they want us to believe in fake things؟ يا جماعة حطوا مليون خط. قلب نفسه هنا الترجمة للي فاهم الانجليزي هيقول لكم صح. وعلى فكرة في ترجمة للانجليزي العربي على اليوتيوب فممكن ترجموها. قلب عظمة لسان أمه إن هما معهمش الكتاب الأصلي للتوراة. الكتاب بالتوراة الأصلي مش موجود معاهم. اسمعوا الكلام ده كويس جدا. أنا هرجعه لكم. So I'm going to repeat again to listen to what he say.
Association of Metatron being Chanoch, being the educator, being the Sar Shel Olam, being the Na'ar, this relatively youthful man who became an angel. Okay, that's that. Now the Zohar continues, the same Zohar continues, that all the secrets of the world were given to Chanoch, and then he wrote some of them down, Umindait Masar Sifra, and then it came down into his book, and the Ikrei Sifra de Chanoch, and that's the book called the Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch is full of all these secrets that he was given. So there's a Book of Enoch. Now the question is, do we have this book? Today we have 3 different books of Enoch, 3 different ones. The problem is that we don't have the original of any of them. What's called the first book of Enoch is the Ethiopic book of Enoch, because it's only preserved in the Ethiopian Gez language and in Greek translations, so we don't have the original Hebrew. We have fragments of it found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and most of those fragments themselves are Aramaic translations. So not Hebrew, but Aramaic translations of the Hebrew. So we went from Hebrew to Aramaic to Greek to Gez, so it's a long chain. You can get it today in an English translation, which is the one that I read. Yeah, so you have the English. And so that's the first one. That's the Ethiopic one. There's a second book of Enoch, which is called the Slavonic book of Enoch, or the Russian book of Enoch, because it was preserved by the Russian Orthodox Church, and it's in Russian, basically, or Old Russian. And there is a Hebrew book of Enoch. That one is in Hebrew, and that one is part of what we would call the Eichalot, the ancient mystical texts that describe the heavenly journeys of Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Akiva. So there's many Eichalot books, ancient books, And a lot of them also had a strange status. They were kind of like Sifrei Chitzonim, they were kind of apocryphal, they were always hidden, passed on in secret. It's hard to also get some of the original copies, but there is a whole set of books called Echalot. They are referenced in many mystical texts. You can get them today. And one of these, under the umbrella of the Echalot, one of them is the Sifra de Chanoch. And the third book of Enoch actually begins by saying that Rabbi Ishmael ben Elisha merited to go up to heaven and meet Metatron. And so the protagonist of the third book of Enoch is Rabbi Ishmael. And it's his ascent up to heaven and his vision of seeing Metatron, Enoch. So it's part of the Echalot texts of Rabbi Ishmael, who lived around the 1st century CE, his journeys up to heaven. So the third book of Enoch is the most useful for us because that's the one that's Hebrew, that's the one that's rabbinically part of the rabbinic tradition, and the Talmud clearly quotes from it. So that's the one that I really want to focus on.
Are there any differences in the text?
Yeah, they're different. The third book of Enoch is pretty short. The first one is more similar. The third is the Hebrew, yeah. The first and second book of Enoch claim to be written by Enoch, like by Chanoch. The third book of Enoch doesn't claim to be written by Chanoch. It claims to be from Rabbi Ishmael, about Chanoch. Okay? So when the Zohar says the book of Enoch, it's not clear which one's referring to. And it might not be any of these. The Zohar most likely is referring to the original ancient text that's now lost, that we don't have. So all of these are kind of like grasping at some of the original information, but we probably don't have the original book of Enoch.
Are there any contradictions between them? Or
Slight, yeah. Some, and more or less it's the same story. Yeah, so the first book of Enoch doesn't actually talk about Enoch's transformation into Metatron. The second one does. The third one does. The first book of Enoch overlaps significantly with the book of Jubilees, which we explored last time. And that's why some scholars say it may have been written by the same person sometime in the Second Temple era, about 2,200 years ago. And it also talks about that calendar, the Jubilee calendar that we discussed last time, the 364-day Jubilee calendar, the solar calendar. It also discusses it pushes that same calendar. So it seems to have been written by that same community of people. Maybe we like to think that they were the Essenes, the Qumran community, the Dead Sea Scroll community. So that it seems like it came from that group of people. And I'm just going to point out some of the interesting things that I got from the first book of Enoch. It agrees with the Midrash, like we said last time, that the leader of these fallen angels, his name was Shem Chazai. And in rabbinic tradition, Shem Chazai was the grandfather of Og. Remember Og, Melech HaBashan, the giant? So Og was a giant because he was the product of the child of this.
So I'm going to stop here, just not losing what we found out here, what does not make sense. What does not make sense when you say you want me to believe in the book, you don't have the original of it. Any book available has any one word does not original, we should not believe in it. Now, if you're asking me about the Bible, the same thing is. When the real Christian people, when they believe in the real Christian Bible, okay, they don't accept any against the word. It's like if it's any hypocrite in the word on this Bible, they don't accept it. Tamam? Okay. So in the other side, that the Jew, the original Jew, the right original Jew, okay, not this guy. This guy is not Jew, and I'm prove that. Because the original Jew, they have the original Torah, believe in every word, which is the same thing is available in the Torah, in the Bible. The same thing is available in the Quran Kareem. So the three book of the three religion, all of them the same. There is no big difference. It might be different of the word, the stories. Some of the names has different pronunciation, but not in the meaning. The same stories is the same. The same stories and the same meaning is the same. The pronunciation, the languages can be different only. That's it. And it's the different language, you never can change it. The basic thing is what we understand. So that is another proof that this book does not make sense. Metatron and the book of Enoch. the angel book, whatever he tried to call. And this is what he created as a Zionist. So when the Biden coming and say, if there is no Zionists, we were going to create Zionists. No, you cannot do that. And we're not going to believe in it. We're not going to follow you. You're going to the fire of hell. We're not going with you. You are being against God. You're being against Allah. You're being against the real life. How we can follow you?